hello, and welcome back to another episode of To Whom It May Concern. I'm your host, Malak, here with my co-host, Mariam, Khawal, and Inara.
Hey,
Hello, everyone.
How is everyone doing so far, ladies?
Good.
We,
Sleepy.
yeah. So we're past the 2-week mark of Ramadan, which means we're almost halfway there.
Yes.
So that's
Today
like,
was a hard day. Did you guys feel like today was a really hard day?
No.
I think it's because I ate too much for sahur. And now my stomach is like, where's the rest of the food? Like, why are you eating again? So it decided to eat itself.
That's great.
that's actually one of the reasons I usually don't eat sahur in Ramadan, because I feel like when I wake up the next day, I'm either super hungry or super thirsty. Like I didn't drink enough water while I was eating, and it never ends well. So this Ramadan, I've actually never had sahur except for this one time that we've decided to do sahur together. But I've managed to avoid it all Ramadan, and it was fine.
That's because we're doing it wrong. We're doing sahur wrong. We go and we're like, this is another full-on course meal. When really we should be doing what Mubaraka told us. And it's just waking up, having thamid, having a protein, and calling it a day. Not having salt. Because when you have that salt, that's when the thirst, it comes.
I've been eating Cheez-Its for some reason. I have no idea. At 3 a.m.
Well-balanced meal.
snacking on Cheez-Its. I don't know why, but that's been good.
Oh.
It's actually funny because I work, the dental office that I work for, the dentist is non-Muslim. And like the first week of Ramadan, he would ask me, he's like, oh my God, did you have like the best breakfast ever? Like implying for sahur. I'm like, no, I don't really do that. I'm like, people do wake up and they have full-fledged meals, but I don't do that. You know, I'm like, I don't even bother waking up sometimes. I just wake up for prayer and go back to sleep. And he's like, oh, that's disappointing. I'd imagine you're eating like waffles and eggs at 3 a.m, like all this food. And I'm like, it's actually not as great as it sounds the next day.
It's funny. He's disappointed. He's like, come on.
He's like, oh man. I'm like, I'm so sorry. This isn't what you envisioned.
You're too exhausted to do any of that.
Seriously. And we know that with Ramadan, obviously, our intention is to rise in spiritual levels always. But alhamdulillah, the beauty of Islam is oftentimes there's more than one benefit to everything we do religiously. And Ramadan is one of those things. So with all the extra dua, all the extra tasbih, all the extra salah and reading Quran, another benefit that we see when it comes to fasting is the physical benefits. And this isn't just something us Muslims claim. There's like scientific evidence, scientific studies that prove the benefits of fasting. And it's honestly inspired one of the popular fad diets, like intermittent fasting. I wouldn't call it a fad anymore, actually, but it's inspired one of the most popular diets that people of all religions and all faiths follow today.
They've done actually many studies in scientific studies where they looked at different hormone levels and different inflammatory markers within the body. So they'll actually take blood tests and measure it while you're fasting. And they've done it specifically during Ramadan for Muslim patients. So it's interesting that it shows that just inflammation in general throughout your body, the inflammatory markers are lower when you are fasting, as well as different hormones like insulin, which is a fat storage hormone. You'll often hear about it. Because if you're not eating, there's low sugar, you don't need the insulin to go higher. So there's just so many different benefits from a scientific standpoint.
What do you mean? Listen, I'm no sciencey, but I read the stuff and I'm like, I still don't get what that means. Okay, what do you mean by inflammatory biomarkers? Like, what does that look like in my body? Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, what is that changing?
So inflammation is usually there when your body, when there's some sort of injury, I guess any sort of injury or infection, there's going to be inflammation. That's basically your body's response to protecting it from different things. So for example, smokers, they're ingesting or they're inhaling toxins, there's going to be inflammation throughout their respiratory system. You twist your ankle, there's going to be injury to that joint, you're going to have inflammation there. Let's say
now that you said that, I did injure my ankle before Ramadan, and I swear to God, since I've been fasting, my ankle injury lessened and it like went away.
So basically,
wow.
Also there's a lot of, you're so funny. there's also a lot of autoimmune diseases where the body is just hyper, I guess it's in a hyperinflammatory state where it's attacking different parts of the body. So you can have like rashes, you can have joint pain, you can have different, I guess, bowel issues. So some people have like diarrhea. So it's just different, it does different things in different parts of your body. Basically, inflammation isn't good because it can cause a lot of scarring wherever it's attacking that tissue. So inflammatory markers, yes, it's needed because let's say if you get a cut, there's bacteria, it has that inflammation, it develops that inflammation in that area to protect your body from it. But in general, having high inflammatory markers isn't a good thing.
Oh. So fasting allows your body to kind of reset and lower everything. It allows it to, instead of focusing so much energy on like the digestive tract and breaking down all your food, it like redistributes the energy to lower inflammation.
Not just that, the more we eat, and especially the stuff that isn't in our food, in our diet, has a lot of sugar, has a lot of like processed food, carbohydrates, things like that, that causes like your body to just continuously use that up. And it has more oxidation, so more free radicals, or again, things that can just injure different cells in different parts of your bodies.
Yes.
And that's even touching upon the insulin resistance. That's also why it's kind of most effective with diabetic patients. They tell diabetic patients to do fasting, and they tell cancer patients to do fasting because of the effects, like the physical effects. And that has to do with your insulin levels being controlled, and you're decreasing your glucose. And then since your body isn't producing so much insulin, you're not so resistant to it. Like, it does allow for a restart. And for cancer cells, they're not getting all the food or energy that they need to continue to populate and to grow. So there are definitely a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, so whenever we're testing to see if patients have cancer or where the cancer is, we do a PET scan. What PET scans are is basically you have sugar molecules that are radioactive. You put it through the IV and it goes wherever the cancer is.
Wow.
And that'll light up on the scan and imaging to show where it is. Of course, there's other organs like your brain, your liver, that also takes up a lot of that sugar. So that'll light up automatically as well. But that's specifically how we test where the cancer is.
I'm actually on this group on Facebook, and what they do, they believe in fasting, but like long fasts. So fasting for 3 days or 48 hours, and they use this to heal themselves. And people have shown, there are like tens of thousands of people on this Facebook group, and they take pictures of their body healing. So for example, let's say someone had really, really bad eczema, they fast for 2 days, the flare-ups go away. Someone even had a brain tumor and fasted, I think, 30 days, 30-day fast, straight up no food for 30 days, and the tumor shrunk like exponentially. Like, it shrunk so much, and the doctors were saying like, good job, I don't know what you're doing. So it could be ways. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying there are proven things that it's shown to help medically.
Yeah, I'm not going to go and recommend just fasting and starving yourself if you have cancer. You definitely need other treatments, other therapies.
I'm just saying what that person did. I'm saying it's so interesting that they use sugar to find cancer cells. So like our body uses what's in our everyday processed food, and it causes cancer, and that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. What's that test called?
A PET scan, PET. What is
That's
it? Like
crazy.
photo.
And I think it also goes with our food addiction these days. They make our food addictive by adding all these things to it. And I think fasting helps break food addiction.
It's not just that. The food in itself, like the sugar, is what we find more like addicting in itself. And it causes that like fluctuations of our emotions. So like we get that high energy state right after we eat a lot of sugar, and then we have like that dip where we're like, we crash. Can also, and what's interesting is when I was listening to a lecture about this, people that eat a lot of sugar usually are the ones that get hangry.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Like they're like, because they're craving that sugar, they want that, and they get upset when they don't have it, because similar to an addiction.
And it's not just it's not just natural sugar or things that should have sugar in it. They're re-engineering our food to have addictive products in it. And no one even looks at it as like, oh, this is an addiction where people should go to rehab for. Why? Because eating is a natural part of our daily living and our process. It's not like something like smoking or alcohol where you know those things are clearly bad for you and there's like clear lines. So I think that's what's wrong with our society. A lot of us are following into it and not realizing that it's an addiction.
It for sure is an addiction. I'm a prime example of that. I need chocolate every night. Like I need to. I have my coffee and I have chocolate right besides of that. And if it's not in my house, I was going to the grocery store and buying herself some
or
chocolate.
It changes your mood, right? Like you get angry, you get frustrated.
Only if you eat the last candy bar, but other than that, does it actually stop addiction? Because I'm still having those cravings once I break my fast. Like I still want something sweet.
Well, I wouldn't call it an addiction in general. I think we're using that term very loosely because if you are addicted, if you are addicted, you wouldn't be able to fast. Like something that you're addicted to,
that's not true. People are addicted to smoking, but because they have a higher purpose, a higher reason, but then the second of that calls, they're smoking their pack a day. So that's not true. You can have an addiction, but pause it.
No, but the actual term and definition of addiction, they base it off the DSM-5, and that's literally where you're just basically, I guess your goal and your purpose in life is just to get whatever that you're addicted to. So like, and you're willing to sacrifice many aspects of your other life, like your family, your job, your important things to get that substance.
To be diagnosed with addiction. But you can have, okay, fine, addictive tendencies towards a certain thing. Happy?
Yeah.
Better terminology being used here?
I don't know.
No, seriously, I think we do. And I think it's orchestrated so that we do.
I mean, in general, I find it interesting because I've heard this many times throughout when I was studying in med school. The one thing, and I've said this before, the one thing that's proven to improve longevity or like increase your lifespan is decreasing the amount of calories you take. And it's funny also because regardless, whether you're doing like intermittent fasting or fasting similar to what we do in Ramadan, versus what you mentioned earlier, Mariam, people that fast for days at a time. Just any sort of fasting for some time is proven to be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. And even Islamically, we know that you're like when you do eat, when you are consuming calories, it's supposed to be 1/3 food, 1/3 water, 1/3 space to breathe. And I feel like outside of Ramadan, well, even I would say some people in Ramadan, we don't pay attention to that at all. Like we're just constantly eating or we're constantly drinking, like until you're at that about to explode kind of marker, right? Like sometimes you're just eating so much and you're eating so quickly, you don't realize how much you're consuming until you're like absolutely full and you literally cannot breathe properly. So I think Ramadan kind of, for people that are taking advantage of the fasting, they take that more into consideration. Like they try to portion control more. They try to eat a little slower so that their brain can catch up with what they're eating in order to know like, okay, you've had your fill, you're okay now. Or they spread out dinner, they spread out dessert so that they're not eating it so much after each other. So it kind of helps in that sense too.
Inside Ramadan, outside Ramadan, 1/3 what? Like, if you were ever experienced that thing where you have to lay down on the couch after you eat to do what we call huddaming, because you cannot fathom walking or even sitting on a chair with so much food in your stomach, you went past the point. Like you shouldn't have been there. But honestly, like I love fasting because not only is it a physical reset, it's also a mental reset too. Because I feel like our marketing, like what we're being marketed, and even just like our plate sizes and all this stuff is so that we can consume more food. And it's like, you need to be eating like 100 meals a day. You need all these snacks a day. You need this, you need that, or you can't function. And it's like, that's not true. That's not the case. Stop trying to feed me this. Literally.
Do you guys, pun intended, do you guys remember back when they used to tell us, I think this was when I was in high school, that it's actually better to have multiple small meals throughout the day than 3 meals?
Yeah, like 5 or 6 meals and then have snacks too.
Yeah, so interesting. It's actually now it's the complete opposite.
No, because now also the portions of fast food are crazy sizes. Like ordering a meal versus like ordering a salad, it's insane.
Even
The
the
size
salad
of the
sizes, they're huge.
yeah, and the size of the sandwich and the fries and the Pepsi for a basic meal, like it's a lot of food to be
But if
eating.
you
and-
go to some place that doesn't have that portion, you're upset because you're like, what the heck? I knew the portion I was expecting. It's not this.
I'm not full yet.
If you look at like my plate, you know how the government has like what you should be eating, and they like it divides it up in portions. If you do that, it's actually a lot of food. Like I remember I used to work at like this rehab facility for people who had like anorexia and bulimia, and I had to like, as a behavioral specialist, I had to like show them how to eat properly. So whenever we had dinner, I had to actually eat up a full meal, but I myself was struggling to
Oh
fit
God.
this food, and it was
Inada's like, you're right. You shouldn't be eating all.
no, but I
God.
mean, I would have to do it, but like the amount of fruit, yogurt, the bread, like all that together should fill you up. So if we're actually getting in all of our like nutrients that we need.
But Inara, that's different because the My Plate is more heavy in like your proteins and your vegetables and your fruits and stuff. Like the consumption of that is much larger and the carbs are significantly less. The sugars come like significantly less. But the way we eat is the opposite. We consume so many carbs and we're not consuming as many like fruits and vegetables. Protein maybe because
Yeah, it's not like a balance.
Yeah.
I feel like My Plate and that is kind of outdated if you're comparing it to more recent data that's showing that intermittent fasting and not having as many calories in general is better.
I feel like these things are always changing though. Like what's good for you, what's not good for you. And I feel like when it comes to like food, it's very specific to the individual and their like health concerns or their like genetics, or I think that plays a huge role. Because even like Monica, she said this thing runs in my family, so I have to avoid a certain amount of food and I have to be very like conscious of the things that I eat. So
Maybe about like the amount of calories you should eat varies from person to person. Like we know if you're taller, if you exercise more, if you whatever, then that fluctuates in the amount of calories. But I don't think it's that different.
What's interesting is, yeah, sure, the data is showing different things and what we're taught is different. But if you look, fasting has been around for ages.
Years.
Like, and that was a normal thing. The prophets and all his companions, like they would always, like fasting was always a known thing. So I feel like even though they didn't have the scientific data to back them up, they were on the right because it is something that is beneficial.
Yeah. Even if sometimes when you feel sick or if I feel like my mind is in a fog, I'm like, man, maybe I should fast. Like that will clear up my mind for some reason. I don't know why. Well, now I do because Spoiler informed us, but it does.
And I also found it interesting because if you listen to people who do intermittent fast or even not the intermittent fasting, they'll fast for like a week straight. They all say how their mind is so much more clearer. They have higher energy levels and they're just more like aware of their surroundings and everything going on. And all of them say the same thing.
wait, these are individuals that just have water for a week and are able to function?
Yeah.
Because listen, that's not true.
No. So I'm sorry. He doesn't have, the guy that I was listening to that had for 1 week fasting, he didn't have water. He had like this energy drink that he would drink. And it had like a lot of lemon, things like that. I don't know what exactly it was. I'm sure it wasn't any calories, because then it wouldn't be considered a fast. But
he
yeah,
was probably taking vitamins or something.
well, no, he doesn't. Like he'll do it for 1 week in the year.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so it's not like
no. There is this man. He fasted. He was the longest known fast, and it was over a year. It was like 360 days. But he went into a hospital, and essentially he was extremely overweight, like 550 pounds. And he went into a hospital, and he's like, "Listen, I'm going to fast. I'm not going to eat till this all comes out. Will you help me do it safely?" Essentially, and they're like, "Okay, if you're gonna do this, we might as well study it and take data records on all this." And they did, and they found that as long as he kept up with adding potassium and sodium to his water, that he was able to fast that whole time, dropped all that weight and kept it off.
I just love how fasting, even for people who are not Muslim, connects to them on like a mental and a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Like, it amazes me how like your physical actions just connects to everything. Like even your sleeping habits improve. Like just different aspects of your life I feel like it all just fits into place if you're eating well.
Even in general, like my level of like work productivity has increased. Like I'm able to get a lot done within my hours of work because I'm not distracting myself with food.
See?
So, but I do get tired after working intensely. After 4 hours, I crash. So that's another. Okay.
Yeah, that's normal.
So let's.
But what happened to this energy stored you guys were talking about? I ain't got none of that.
That's because you work out every day.
Yeah,
Your
that's true.
energy's leaving.
Like also what you eat for iftar and once you break your fast is very important.
What should we be eating, Khwaila?
Listen to Mubaraka.
That was a great episode.
Yeah.
Reference back to it.
I actually ordered her book. I'm excited. It should be coming in on Tuesday. I want to change my eating habits because I want to try to change my eating habits for like iftar. We'll see if I do it Ramadan or if I want to wait after. But I do want to change it because I want to see if it does help me energize. Just because I'm like, I don't like how I do get tired after like being up for like 4 hours and like wanting to crash or like depending on like caffeine to get me to function. So I really want to try changing up my eating habits to see if it does make a difference.
Let me know.
I think it will.
Also,
Let us all know.
if during the day you're using like a lot of brain power and you're exercising and you're not eating right, like that's probably why you have to take a nap after a few hours. Like it's not. You also have to, if you're decreasing in something, you have to be increasing in something else. You know, like you have to be taking vitamins at night, or you have to be doing something in order to restore your energy.
I think if you sleep well, that should be also good enough.
Honestly, I
That's normal.
sleep 8 hours a night, and I still the next day after a work day, so it's like a long day, but after work I have zero energy. Like, even like I sleep the recommended time, and I still, after I get home from work, like I just want to pray Asr and I just don't want to do anything
Is this only
until
for
it's
Ramadan
time.
in general?
I feel like in general, but I'm gonna specify Ramadan because I don't really remember. But
When I sleep well, I feel energized throughout the day, and I know that I slept well if at night or after work I still feel okay. It's only when I don't sleep well that I feel tired after.
yeah, I'm specifically talking about Ramadan. Like usually after I was able to go and play sports and stuff like that, I didn't mind. But it's just, I feel like regardless, the sleeping thing, personally for me, it hasn't made a difference. Like I'd be tired without the full 8 hours in Ramadan, and I'd still be tired with the full 8 hours. So
Regardless of what system or how it works for you, you should be getting the sleep you need. There are so many studies that show that people who shortcut their sleep or don't get enough sleep cause severe damage to their bodies and their brains. So sleep. And not sleeping is a direct correlation to weight gain.
It's all connected, see?
Yeah. Like your body's all connected, you guys.
Remember when
it makes sense.
Khwaila, I don't know if this is true, but you can help. But remember how they used to tell us when we were younger, go to sleep so you can grow taller?
Oh, yeah. That's when you're like in your growing stages, because when you're sleeping, that's when you emit the growth hormone.
And actually, while I was researching physical benefits of fasting, one of them is that it increases your growth hormone levels, which helps with metabolism and growth and stuff.
All good.
Just another benefit of Ramadan.
So remedy for life, fast, sleep equals
Honestly,
success.
But like it just like kind of puts it together how like Islam is a way of life, physically, spiritually, mentally.
We even see that with Salah. There's studies that show, the different poses in Salah, like sujood and ruku', it all has mental benefits, it all has physical benefits. Like I know they compare it to like yoga positions, but like it's a part of Islam and you get that bonus benefit. So it's really cool.
And it gets you out and it physically makes you move. Like think about how many of us will sit down for hours and hours at a time focused on a task or working. Having Salah makes sure that you get up and move at least 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And just standing itself and then doing those motions. And it makes a big difference. People who sit down all day, there's also studies that show that's terrible for your health.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even now we have studies of all that, but like Khwaila was saying in the past, this has been around for ages. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and all the people, they used to do it. They didn't have the scientific facts, but they seen how it was improvements in their life. They were able to see the benefits, even though they didn't have like the exact studies behind it at the time.
Mhm.
And that's beautiful to see. Like it has, what we have done before, we're still realizing the benefits now. And I am excited, I guess, to see of all the benefits in the future we found out about things we do now. And you're like, wow, subhanallah.
I'm hoping there's a benefit to eating a lot of chocolate.
That's not in
not.
Islam.
Probably not, Inara.
Maybe dates.
Besides increasing Inara's mood, that's where it kind of
Proving it.
wears off.
Improving
Yeah,
my-
releases endorphins.
Oh my, do you guys know the benefits to eating a date when you break your fast because of how many nutrients are in a date?
Mhm.
Honestly, I don't know, but I like
It's high in potassium, high in sugar, high in everything. Like it brings you back all your energy up when
so
you have a
when
date.
we're playing volleyball, when we're fasting, we're dead. We eat a couple dates and we like perk right up. So I
Because it instantly restores your muscles with sugar and potassium. It gets you
Yeah.
what you need.
seriously, it works.
It's like-
I think it's important though, like when it comes to just like the physical aspects of fasting, moving on from Ramadan is just to break our bad habits. Of course,
Yeah.
not like personally speaking, eating so much, stuffing yourself,
Mhm.
the bad like bad choices, bad types of food that we're eating. Just overall, this is supposed to be some sort of a reset button to bring us back to what's really important.
That's why it's like sunnah to fast Monday and Thursday. If you think
Mhm.
about it, both of them are like a good far enough distance away.
You know what's so funny? I was randomly doing some rotation and I was on a rotation with another med student. And she was just saying how like, oh yeah, there's like a 5 and 2 fast where you like fast 2 days out of the week. And I'm just like, what the heck? This is literally the sunnah. Like all these non-Muslims are saying things that we Muslims have been knowing. It's so funny.
And sometimes when we hear about like the Islamic act or like when we hear about the sunnah, we don't even think of all the benefits. Like for us, we've never heard of a 5-2 fast. For us, you just fast the 2 days because it's sunnah. But like
Yeah.
we don't believe like there's actual benefits in this lifetime rather than just getting the hasanat for the sunnah, you know.
But
The
like
So that's
craziest thing, I was on TikTok and there was a dentist and he tests out different brushing methods to see which one's the most effective. And he's like, this is one of the most effective. This is called the Miswac. And I'm like, oh my God. He's like, this removes all plaque and bacteria, da da da. And he's talking about all these things. And I'm like, wow, this is a non-Muslim doctor that's highly praising the use of Miswac and telling people to use it because it removes plaque and bacteria.
wow.
I'm like, that's crazy. Because who would think like a piece of wood would be able to do all this? No one.
Yeah.
We think we're so like advanced.
Yeah, but
Right?
like when you open your dental practice, you have to offer us the wax.
Yeah.
Yes, Malak.
You know, some dentists give like
Like-
chapstick. I'm just gonna give like
Like
Miswac
Miswac.
on your way out.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, it's part of benefits.
Part of your
Right?
tools you're doing.
And imagine all the ajr I'd get. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's sunnah. So, all right, that's it. Everyone's getting a new Miswac, not a new So as you can see, Ramadan is just one of the scientific benefits that we even know in Islam. Even as they go through the Quran, there's so many different ayat, hadith that when you compare it to modern science, we have known since 1400 years back that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already shared with Muslims and has already showed all the benefit to. So it's really cool to look into these things, to go full circle and just understand that subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has crafted Islam to not only benefit you in the hereafter or not for just the sole purpose of spirituality, although that's of course the main and most important reason, but it's always nice to see that there are physical benefits and there are benefits for today, you know. But alhamdulillah, we are 2 weeks into Ramadan. This is your weekly reminder that if you're not taking full advantage of Ramadan yet, you continue to try to push forward and take advantage of the last few weeks. We love that you've tuned in. We appreciate it. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and you hit that subscribe button if you're not already. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Modern Skeps. Sincerely, The Modern Skeptics. P.S. Fasting is this month's prescription.